Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we have a review of the Wildercorps Hunters from Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry. Now this is a series of Sigmar focused warband that came out in the Hunter vs Hunted box set alongside the Gorger Moor Pack, which is an Ogre Moor Tribes Warcry warband, and we're going to take a look at all the different models, all the different options we have when building through the kit, along with all the different stat lines, all the reactions and actions and abilities we get with this warband as well. Now starting on the screen here we have the reaction and we've got the abilities up. We'll keep these up on the screen while we're talking about all the cards and stuff, just to help everyone get an idea of what sort of works with what while we're doing. So to start with, we have the reaction, which is a smart step backwards. A fighter can make this reaction after they have been allocated damage points by melee attack action, and they get to make a bonus disengage. This is pretty solid because we've got a lot of fighters with like 10, 12, 15-ish wounds in the warband. Not a lot of, very high defense either, or mostly defense 3. So what this allows us to do is, with our fighters, keep them alive, because most fighters, if we get into like a 2 attack round against an enemy, we're probably going to get taken down. So being able to use a reaction to move out and to allow maybe our superior firepower, because we definitely do have a good amount of shooting and some decent shooting in the warband as well, and some fun abilities as well that trigger off models being around but not necessarily in combat with an enemy. Now, looking over into the abilities, the first of these we have is Death Grip, and I really like this for a double. Now, the dog head, as you can see, that is the Wildercorps Hunters or rune mark, but then the first one we have Beast, and this will apply to all the bestest of boys, all the doggos we have in the warband. See one pictured underneath the ability card here. There is a ton of them in the box set. There's actually 4 doggos, and then there is another one attached to the warband's leader. Now what Death Grip does is, after this fighter's melee attack action in this activation, if at least one hit roll from that attack action results in a hit, the target forfeits one of their attack actions, or one of their actions rather, and if their target has already activated, or if they have no more actions to forfeit, they allocate 3 damage points to the target instead. So there is a interesting thing here. So first of all, this can knock people down to 0. So if you're forcing enemies to use reactions, you can then remove their last action available to them from it as well. You've also got the ability to pile this onto enemies you know have activated. So being able to do this double on an enemy you know has already activated in the round and get those extra 3 points of damage through and plan for that is really fun. Now, we then have Hunting Pack for a double. This can be used by some of our more elite warriors. Pick a visible friendly fighter with the Wildercorps Hunters faction rune mark within 2 inches of this fighter. That fighter makes a bonus attack action that must target an enemy within 2 inches of this fighter. This is really cool because we do have a lot of decent range on the force. I've got shooting, and 2 inch is a nice range because it means we're not actually in control zones of that inch. It means we can fight over, we can have spearmen fight behind our friends, we can have spearmen draw in shooters, we can have lots of other stuff. We don't actually need to be in the fight either for this. We don't need to be attacking our opponent, just need to be within 2 inch. So a really cool sort of way we can use this ability. We then have double for Hunter's Eye. Until the end of this fighter's activation, we add 1 to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by each hit and critical hit. Pretty standard one that is for most warbands, getting on some of your elites. We then have Trailblazer's Might, which is crits on a 5, another sort of standard one we're seeing. And then we have Triple. This is probably my favorite one. This is Kill. So you pick a visible enemy fighter and you allocate a number of damage points to that enemy fighter equal to 3 times the number of friendly fighters with both the Wildercorps Hunters rune mark and the Beast rune mark. So the amount of doggos around, essentially. And within 3 inches of them. So you can actually get, all your doggos around and dogpile essentially onto an enemy to do quite a decent amount. With this warband, you could potentially, if you get all your doggos, you can have 15, but the doggos are pretty dirt cheap, as we'll look later. We then lastly have our quad for regroup, and this is another really interesting one that does help the faction a lot in what it goes to do. Each visible fighter with the Wildercorps Hunter faction rune mark, now this is all of them, so this will include your doggos as well, because they do have that faction rune mark, that within 6 inches of this fighter can make a bonus move or a bonus disengage action. This is really good because this allows you to sort of bring all your fighters back out, regroup, get your fighters working together, which is incredibly important for the warband, making sure you don't get singled out and picked off one by one, because a lot of warbands will be able to easily tank through 12 wounds and defense 3 on, like I said, the majority of your fighters. But with that, that is all the abilities. So let's go look at all the different warriors we have access to. Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. And so, to get us started, first of all, we have the Wildercorps Warden. Now, this is actually pretty cool because there are 3 different variations of this model that you can choose to take within your warband, and they all are going to provide something a little bit different. Now, this one here is the Wildercorps Warden with double-bitted axe. This is going to be the most combat-orientated of them. You've got 3 attacks, strength 4, 2-4 on the damage. You've also got the abilities for Hunting Pack there, which is really cool, on top of Hunter's Eye, which is nice. And of course the leader rune mark, which is cool. You got defense 3, 20 wounds. I mean, like I said, these are not the toughest of heroes, but 115 for your warband leader is pretty dirt cheap on the edge of it, especially with the more sort of bespoke faction ones from Age of Sigmar we've been seeing, you know, like the Azkurgans and all that. This is pretty dirt cheap. He's solid for his points. I don't know if this is the one of the 3 I would take. Like I said, there's 3 different options, and we'll look through them all now. It's really this left hand here that determines sort of what version you are playing with. Then we have the other version, which is swapping out the double-bitted axe for some range. This is with hunting crossbow. Now, we've got the same set of rune marks, though we have the attacks on this model now as the dog, with 2 attacks, strength of 3, 2, 3 on the damage, and we've got 2 ranged attacks, though, 1, 3 on the damage, 3 to 15-inch range, not too great, and he is 5 renown more expensive than the double-bitted axe. I do think I prefer the double-bitted axe, but even this little bit of shooting can, if you really heavily invest in a shooting force with the Wildercorps Wardens, I think pay off, but I still don't think these are the options I would be taking. So this is the 3rd variation you can see here with just the pointing hand, no axe or crossbow in it. This is the Wildercorps Warden with Grizzled Trailhound. So he's got a better of the doggos. Now for me, I think this is the way I'd go. He's the same cost as the double-bitted axe. He has 4 attacks, strength 3, 2, 3 on the damage. So he's putting out a decent amount of damage compared to the others, at least anyway. But for me, it is this extra rune mark here that enables him to use the kill triple. I think that triple is just so good if you can get your doggos off and you're wanting to play with the doggos in this warband. For me, that is just one of the big parts of the warband. It is doggos and range, really, I think are the 2 things this warband does better than anything. So yeah, I think at the cheaper cost, you know, he's 5 points more cheaper than the crossbow and the same cost as the double-bitted axe, and does a lot more, I think, for the points. So with me, this is the option I would be taking every time. And so, moving on, we then have one of our 2 more elite fighters. Now, we get 2 of this in the box set. These are the Wildercorps Leatherhides. Now, we've got 2 options with these as always, and you can build them to be either option in the kit, which is pretty cool. So, the first one here is the Trog Slayer Spear. Now, this is going to have 2 of the rune marks in here. So, we've got Hunting Pack of always, which is just super useful, being able to bring enemies into the fight. But then we also have Hunter's Eye as well for some extra damage, which is really nice with the Trog Slayer Spear. This is going to be, you know, our big combat damage dealer. We've got 3 attacks at strength 4, 2, 4 on the damage, turning into 3, 5 if we can get Hunter's Eye off. For me, is massive, and a 2-inch range, meaning we can stay out of range of some more deadly enemies, making them have to move towards us. So we then have defense 3, 12 wounds, so a little bit of decent wounds. These are slightly above the average sort of fighter here. I think these are solid. 100 renown for what you get here, I think, is on the money, if a little bit expensive, but I really do like this. I think out of the 2 versions of the Wildercorps Leatherhide, we'll talk about the next one in just a second, I think this is my preferred version. So, speaking of the other version, we then have the Wildercorps Leatherhide with Hunting Crossbow. Your attacks definitely do drop down to 2 at strength 3, 1, 3 on the damage, but you do gain the range profile, which is the same as your Wildercorps Warden. So, you've got 2 ranged attacks, 3 to 15-inch range, strength 3, 1, 3 on the damage. You have the same rune marks, you've got Hunter's Eye and Hunting Pack there. For me, 100 renown for the same thing. I think the spear is just better. The only time I really see the crossbows paying off is when you take them in absolutely every option you can, and you're just absolutely hammering your opponent with shooting. Then you probably are relying heavily on getting some quads for your groups as well in case you get caught with the shooting. But yeah, really solid. It should be noted that this dude here, you can build him with the spear if you want as well. So you could build just 2 with the Trog Slayer spears. Moving on to our other sort of more elite fighter, we have the Trailblazer. This one has the Dueling Saber. Now, this is where we get Trailblazer's Might, which is crits going off on a 5+. Now, we have 2 options for this once again. 90 renown for these, 12 wounds, movement 4, defense 3, standard sort of stuff we're expecting to see for humans. 2 ranged attacks at strength 3, 1-3 on the damage here with his crossbow. But the Dueling Saber actually gives him 4 attacks at strength 3, 2-4 on the damage, which I think is pretty nice for a 90 renown model. I think that is fairly solid. Strength, not the greatest, but the fact that we can drop those crits to 5s mean, against a lot of fighters, we're just doing damage on crits, would be pretty sweet. I think the only downside is Trailblazer's Might is a triple, which sort of would stop me investing too heavily in taking more than one Trailblazer. This is probably the coolest model outside of the doggos for the set, though. I really dig this model. He's got the rope and all that over his back. He's got a really cool little backpack and all stuff in there as well. For me, I think Dueling Saber probably, once again, is my favorite, unless you are really going for lots of shooting and you take the other variation that we have here. And so here we have our other fighter option for the Trailblazer, twin crossbows. And as you might expect, we have the dual sort of profile here with the crossbow, so we just get double the amount of attacks, 4 attacks, strength 3, 1-3 on the damage. Now, the cool thing here, though, is the 8-inch range, meaning you can use it in melee or at range. We aren't quite as far range. We do drop that range because normally a lot of the crossbows are 3 to 15, so that's a thing that gets dropped. But I think he's pretty solid all round. 90 renown for what you get here is pretty solid. Reminds me very much of the K-Knight Shadowstalker's Doomfire Warlock with the twin crossbows as well. So then we actually have the most expensive model in the warband, the Arbalester. This is a really interesting and heavy-hitting range damage-dealing piece, and something I think is really nice. Now, movement 3 is the downside here, so we are slow. But we do have a 6 to 20-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 4, 4-8 on the damage. This thing will put some hurt out. Now, it does have the rune mark for Hunting Pack. The only downside I would say is the fact it can't take Trailblazer's Might for the crits on 5s, but this is solid. I think, some decent shooting. It is expensive, especially at defense 3 and only 12 wounds. I'll be interested to see how these go. I'm looking forward to running mine, but I do have my reservations on how this will go. It's got no melee profile there to speak of. 2 attacks, a strength 3, 1-2 on the damage. I mean, that skink levels are terrible for like 3 times the cost, almost 4 times the cost of a chameleon skink. Yeah, he'll be interesting. I think, there'll be some games where he spikes a ton during the game and he will win you games. There'll be other games where he gets taken out real quick by something half or a quarter of his points. So moving on to our basic red shirts here, we have the Wildercorps Scouts. Now this one is hunting crossbow, and once again we have 2 profiles with these models. Crossbow, what we've come to expect, 2 attacks, strength 3, 1-3 on the damage, and then the same exact profile in melee. Now they are 75 renown, 10 wounds, movement 4, defense 3. I don't think it's too bad, in all honesty. I think the shooting ones on these for 75 for some splash damage. The fact that this is, not going to do much either way. It is just a body. I'd rather have these have shooting if they're going to be bodies in the force than only being able to deal in melee. This allows these to sort of be your treasure grabbers or your objective holders in like places where the opponent is not. The other option for them is with paired hatchets. Now, this is interesting because you actually do get a shooting profile. You can throw the hatchets for a very similar profile. Now, you do get more attacks on these models. You are a shorter range on your range damage here, so maybe it's still an option. 75 renown. I still think the longer range is nicer on the crossbows, though this does have versatility. The fact that you can use this at 3-inch instead of 1-inch, he's never going to be out of range in combat is pretty cool. But I probably do prefer the crossbows just for that extra bit of range and their ability to sort of sit off opponents. You know, these have to get with an 8-inch, means they're in combat range of a lot of things in the game. Not exactly where they want to be with this profile here. And so lastly, we have the Trailhound, the goodest of boys in all the mortal realms. You do get 4 of these in the box, which are really cool. And there are some different head options in there, so make for some really nice doggos. 2 attacks, strength 3, 2-3 on the damage, so not bad on the damage. They're better than most of your fighters. 6 wings though. Movement 6 is nice, but really it's all about that death grip of stopping your opponent being able to move. Like these guys, as much as you want your doggos not to perish on the battlefield, they're all going to be about getting in, removing activations, and allowing your Wildercorps hunters to do the actual damage in the fight. So this is incredibly important. I think they are super, super important to the warband and how it functions. But that is everything we have for the Wildercorps hunters. What are your thoughts on their Wildercorps hunters, though? I think some of them are a little bit pricey. I think they are definitely going to be flimsy, and they're going to require some really good play. They definitely are going to rely on, at times, getting quads and making sure you've got enough doubles for both Death Grip and Hunting Pack. And I think kill is an interesting one, but it's going to be super situational and probably not something you're able to use too much later in game for that effectiveness. This is going to be, you know, something if your opponent pushes a piece too far in and you can get around them, that's sort of what you do. But yeah, I'll be really interested. What is everyone's thoughts on the Wildercorps hunters? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And that's the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and also drop a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. You can use one of our affiliate links to Gap Games or Element Games if you're in Australia or the United Kingdom, or you can subscribe to our YouTube members or Patreon, or grab some merch from our merch stores on Teespring or Ko-fi. All the best ways to help support the channel. As a special thanks to all our Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patrons: Broken Chef, Andy C, Grimskull, Colorblind Magic, Benjamin Swallows, James Cater, Mark Harvey, Domir, Average Wargamer, JJ Austrian, Cure Dynamic, Andrew Bowen, Outer and Shot First, Kenny Lowell, and Soren. And to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, the Johnny84, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, James Tillman, Disco, John Castle, and Gargamel196. Thank you all once again for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. And most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.